Great. It's a great honor to be here, so let's start with my presentation. I'm going to speak about the preliminary outcomes of my research focused on the role of the Czech Constitutional Court and, well, to be honest, of the role of the CRC, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, in the jurisprudence of the Constitutional Court. Well, I will talk for a while about the powers of the Czech Constitutional Court, then I will provide you with some statistics, and later on I will show you on two groups of cases how the Czech Constitutional Court handles issues that relates to CRC. So, first of all, to summarize briefly what are the powers of the Czech Constitutional Court in this respect. Well, the Constitutional Court, as is typical for our region, is one of the protectors of constitutionally guaranteed rights and freedoms. Therefore, Czech court might repeal laws or individual provisions of the laws if the court finds those contravening with the constitutional order. It's a sort of ex post legislation review by the court, and there is a limited number of the actors that might start the procedure in front of the court. Well, and secondly, the court adjudicates on constitutional complaints filed by individual complainants, and its decisions on these matters are of a cassation nature. So, in the jurisprudence of the Constitutional Court, almost in 4,000 judgments there is a mention of CRC. Since the court was set in 1993, the first decision that is mentioning the convention is from the next year. Out of those 4,000 decisions, there are approximately 160 judgments, and out of those 145 are finding at least partially violation of some rights. And moreover, there are also 12 plenary judgments that at least, well, partially, 6 of them at least partially granted a petitioner request for an annulment of some legislation. You may see how the case law is divided within those years, so there is a clear tendency to use the convention in the text of the judgments more oftenly during the last 10 years at least, and compared to a general, let's say, general workload of the Constitutional Court, you might see that the tendency really doesn't correlate to the workload itself, so it's clear that the court values the convention more and more, and it's not just by the number of cases that comes to it. Speaking about the most often cited articles, in those 165 judgments I've mentioned, most often the Article 3, so the best interest of the child principle is mentioned, following by Article 12, that of course refers to right to participation, and Article 18 and 9 referring to parental responsibilities, state assistance, and also right to not to be separated from the parents. As you will see later on, it's clear that specifically those two articles are crucial in one area of jurisprudence of the Constitutional Court. So, in the next part, I would very briefly show you some examples of the cases where the Constitutional Court annulled some of the Czech laws due to breach of the constitutional order and use the convention as a vehicle for that. It starts with the case from 1994. When the court annulled part of the law, the phrase "unless otherwise stipulated in by the law," in the amendment to the Education Act that was trying to allow and introduced at least partially paid education in public schools. The Constitutional Court said it's contravening with a national order and constitutional order, I mean, and also in contradiction with Article 28 of the CRC. Followed by another judgment in 1997, the Constitutional Court annulled some other words, institutional, in the criminal code, and that specific section criminalized acts that undermines the purpose of court orders. So you might say something like an obstruction of justice. And this specific wording led to criminalization of children running away from institutional care facilities. That's something that the court didn't like and said that fair balance test could not lead to conclusion that such criminalization of children would be proportionate, and therefore found it unconstitutional. And moreover, quite importantly, reached to a conclusion that the Article 3 is of self-executing nature, and that is clearly followed by next case law of the court. So mainly as a vehicle for such judgment, the court used Article 3, best interest of the child principle, and there was almost no other sources of Czech constitutional order to reach such a conclusion. So clearly the Article 3 was of crucial importance in this case specifically. Followed by another case from 2004, again the annulment of the law, in this specific case of provision of the Act on Institutional and Protective Education that introduced so-called contractual families that was intended to be a way how to entrust children to the care of, for example, something like foster parents, but not specifically, because foster care was clearly regulated by the national law, but contractual families weren't. And therefore, the court said such a regulation would constitute violation of children's rights and also parental rights, specifically because it would be placement would be based on the contract and not on the court judgment removing the child from the care of the parents. So again, the court reached a conclusion that it contravenes with the convention, specifically with Article 9. Another important case from 2010 is related to contestation of paternity. In this specific case, the convention wasn't a vehicle for the abolishment annulation of the legislation. It was a mere point of the argumentation showing that there has to be a balance between the rights that are involved in cases where the paternity could be contested by a father, and the court reached to a conclusion that 6 months time limit to file a petition to the court that was regulated before that was not enough, and the legislator has to find a better balance between rights that are at stake. And lastly, I would point out to the decision of the court that was very important because it dealt with child debtors. We had a big problem with children that faced a high amount of debts after reaching their majority. Many of those debts were based on waste collection fees, and therefore the Constitutional Court found that legislation that allowed to impose waste collection fees on minors regardless of their financial capacity, contravening the constitutional order again. And the Article 3 was again mentioned as to emphasize the obligation of the state to protect the interest of the child. So I will move on to the two specific groups where the court handled individual complaints. First of all, let me tell you that there is a clear shift in the Czech judicial practice towards shared parenting during the last decade. The number of cases where the children were entrusted to the care of both parents has significantly become higher. Almost 4 or 5 times more children are now in shared care of their parents compared to the situation before 10 years. And it actually started with the landmark judgment from 2014, followed by a dozen others that used also reference to the Article 3 and Article 7 of the Convention on the Rights of the Child as a basis for finding such previous practice of the Czech courts unconstitutional. So that's one very important group. And the second group of cases relates to child participation in court procedures. I have listed just a couple of cases related to specific aspects of children's lives. For example, institutional care, child placement when a 14-year-old girl was not heard by the court, and that's something Czech court found unconstitutional, or change of the surname of the child, choice of the primary school, or mandatory vaccination refusal, where the girl refusing the vaccination was heard but not provided with sufficient information during the procedure. So again, there is a vast case law on those participation aspects, and again from the data current research shows that helped to switch towards much broader participation of children in the court procedures in Czech Republic in general. So my time is up. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for your presence. It was an honor speaking to you. Thank you very much.